would just step back. I'm mad that when I come down straight, I thought you were my piece, but you played me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. On the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean, revolution machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly this, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, and you know it's mine. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
Brethren, we'll go on.
It's dab time. It's 7:10, which is oil backwards. So if you got some dabs, do them up. Welcome to the podcast. Who do you want to dab with? What are you all dabbing on?
Just some homegrown stuff.
Oh, you guys are up in Maine. You guys are dabbing like what you grew in the backyard.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Oh man, so unfair. We're dying over here in Jersey. Hold on, let me do my dab first. Oh man.
So where's the podcast? Am I on the podcast?
All right. Hold on here. I never do this before, but I'm going to do it like this today because I'm by myself. So hold on. Here goes my dab.
Wait. This might be toast. I'm not sure.
That was King's Kush. Anybody who's keeping track.
King's Kush.
Oh, God. Welcome our guests from Maine to the podcast. Oh, my God. That's a way to open a podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Woo.
might as well join you. Thanks.
Yeah, man.
What's going on, Dawson? And who's that? Is that Paco?
Yeah.
Hi, Paco.
Hey.
I'm Lefty. Where are you from?
Hey, Lefty.
You're from Maine also?
Brother, I'm from Nebraska.
Nebraska. Oh, I got you. Okay. Got you.
So Paul Stanford, I think, got me here by way of my good friend Bill Hawkins. And,
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, and here
I'm
comes
glad
Paul.
to be here.
And here comes Paul. Paul's joining us too. So we got Paul from Oregon. We've got Nebraska. We've got Maine, and we've got New Jersey. Oh, this is great. We've got a quorum of states. This is amazing. Hi, Paul. Paul. Hey, Paul. How you doing? I'm glad to have you.
I'm good. Are you talking to me?
I'm just saying. You talking to me? Yeah, I'm just saying hi.
Are you talking to me? You think I was from Jersey, right?
We don't do that over here.
Are you talking to me? Anyway, I had just turned the audio on, so I couldn't hear you till I popped in there. You know how it works.
So
Thanks for having me.
can everybody introduce themselves real quickly? We have Dawson from Maine, right? How you
Yeah,
doing, Dawson? What's going on, buddy?
yeah, good. Thank you. I'm from Maine. I used to be a caregiver and an advocate, a big advocate, and I got a traumatic brain injury, and when I was on vacation, and so I sold my business and a bunch of stuff, but anyways, it's uh I'm kind of I'm a big reason why Maine's awesome, has awesome laws and rules, because I took my advocating seriously, and I got a pretty good reputation in Maine as far as that goes. So I I I just wanted to share whatever I could with you guys, and hopefully every state gets awesome like Maine. We did it, but with advocating power. That's what's unique about Maine, is everything was on the ground level, and our politicians are a lot easier to approach than say New Jersey or something. But it would just take so many, like three phone calls, and you could change a rep or a senator's vote. It didn't take much. So it was that's how we did it. We grassroots roots power, and we just got control. Oh, Curaleaf used to have the worst lobbyists panicking in Maine, and Holden stock. Acreage Holdings, which was Wellness Connection. They were another company that trades on the stock market, and they used to have the worst lobbyists in Maine, and they used to be our biggest enemy. And they, in the last 2 years, Curaleaf and Acreage Holdings don't even have lobbyists in Augusta. Don't even bother because we just get away with them all the time. So it works. People power beats lobbying power. It's proven. So I was hoping to share any information I can with you guys, and hope it spreads.
No, that's amazing. You seem to have your politicians in your corner. How about you also opened up mom and pops first. The caregivers and mom and pops opened up before the big guys. That was a big deal too, right?
Yeah. Well, it all started in 2008. We voted medical marijuana legal in the ballot, and then 2010 they gave out the first 8 dispensary licenses, and they had each region of Maine was a different section. So they gave out 8 licenses, and out of 8 licenses, 7 of them went to out of state companies that were out of staters, and only one guy got the worst district in Maine. He got Kent, which is close to Canada, and he got that, and he had one of the most veteran politicians on his board, and so basically he got the best board he could get, best board member, and he still got screwed. So, anyways, what happened was I I set up a caregiver business, and everybody could unlimited caregivers could have access. So there was no limit on that. So I started selling. I started my business. It was East Coast CBDs, and what happened was I started growing CBD marijuana along with THC. I grow different strains, but I grew in my garage. And after a while, I could figure out, I gotta get a bigger building because I couldn't keep up with the demand. And what happened was I got a building, and I got a marijuana lobbyist representative, and he was also a lawyer. And so I got him, and he loved the idea because I was going to set up a marijuana grow, and I was going to be like a marijuana caregiver landlord. And so he loved that idea. And then after a couple weeks, I looked at the marijuana laws. I read them all, and I called up my lawyer, Mark, and I said, I'm reading the laws. I don't see anything here that says I can't hang a sign out front and, make it a store. And so Mark said, well, he said, you can do that, but it would be, there's laws in Maine that prevent it. And, we were only supposed to have 5 patients at any one given time. So we could only have 5 people. And so he asked me, how are you going to get around that? And I said, well, I'll just sign them up a contract when they come in, and when they leave, I'll cancel the contract. And, I'll never have more than 5 patients at one time if I do it right. And so he goes, term for that. I go, what legal term? And he goes, it's called cute. He goes, basically, you're skirting the law. And, if you do that and they prosecute you, it's up to the judge to figure out if you're guilty or not. And I go, yeah, but I got beyond a reasonable doubt on my side, right? And the lawyer goes, yeah. He goes, I can't represent you. If you want to start a store, I can't represent you. And so he fired me. So I'm sitting there with no lawyer. I used to have the most awesome lawyer. He was medical marijuana friendly. He was a representative voting for us. And, all of a sudden he fired me. So I'm like, oh shit. So I hung a sign. My daughter and my wife painted up my sign, and I hung it up in a couple of days, and I started a store. And the state didn't like it. They didn't like what I was doing. I thought for sure more people would start stores, because it was cute at worst, but there was no law saying you couldn't do that. What the law said was it was the patient's discrepancy to decide what caregiver they wanted to sign up for, and every time they could cancel, and it was at the patient's discrepancy. So what I used to do is I just tell the patients, is totally your discrepancy, but if you want to cancel after the sale, that helps us out. And I explained it to them, and we never had any problems. And so I got inspected the first year I opened, and I figured, well, by now I gotta have competition. And so I got inspected the first time, and so he went through, inspected everything, counted my plants and all that stuff. And at the end of the inspection, we did the paperwork, and he started to say about how rotating the patients, that wasn't legal. And I was saying, well, according to my lawyer, my old lawyer, he said that, there's no law that says no, you can't do it. So I'm just like, if you guys want to make a law, but otherwise I'm going to follow the law. And so it was funny, but then I got inspected another time. It was like a year later, and the inspector is the same thing. At the end of the whole inspection, he started giving me a hard time about rotating patients and saying that was illegal. And I said, well, you tell the director at the time for medical marijuana, her name was Marietta, and she used to do that. She used to be in charge of all medical marijuana in Maine. And so at the time, what I told the inspector was, I was like, you tell Marietta that I said I got beyond reasonable doubt on my team and a jury of 12. Good luck convincing them that I'm doing drug trafficking or whatever, because I got I'll have patients coming up in wheelchairs telling them how they rely on the CBD medicine, and none of the dispensaries in Maine had non-psychedelic CBD medicine. So that was part of the whole reason. Basically, I was promoting CBD, non-psychoactive medicine, and everybody else was selling the THC stuff. And I was specializing in CBD, and that was part of the reason why I was stealing so many customers from the dispensaries, because they didn't have the CBD medicine, and it was pretty funny. But basically, the third time I got inspected, Marietta came. She was the director. She came, and when she came, she had 5 Waldo County deputy sheriffs with her, and
Wow.
they all came in trucks, and it was pretty crazy because I saw the trucks, the first 2 trucks pull up and park across the street, and I was looking out the window, and I saw them. They had like 3 trucks join them, and all of a sudden I'm thinking down the road there's like a pill house, and I'm thinking, yahoo, I'm cheering. They finally got a warrant to bust these guys, and everybody knew in town these guys were trouble down the road. But then I saw the Waldo County Sheriff's trucks pull into my driveway. I'm like, what the hell? And so it was pretty crazy. But when I saw Marietta come out of the truck, I knew it was an inspection. So it was pretty, it's a long story. But anyways, at the end of the inspection, she wanted to talk about, the caregiver cars. And that day she inspected was the same day my wife's card expired. It was August 3rd of 2016. And so I was still the only store open in Maine. And it was pretty crazy what happened, because she came on the same day my wife's card expired. And when she started to say that, the card was expired, I said, well, hold on, let me go check the mail, because maybe it's already come. I sent the money order in like a month ago, and maybe it's in the mail. And so she goes, she winks at me, she smirks, and she goes, don't bother, Dawson. She goes, I go, what do you mean, don't bother? I go, what do you mean? She goes, let's just say it came across my desk. And so yeah, what the hell? I don't have the card because you have the card, but anyways, we went back and forth. We argued a little bit. And then what happened was, at the time, my stepson, Corey, was training to be a caregiver, and we got him the cards. So we had caregiver cards. So I said, hold on. I went and I went in the office and came back with 5 caregiver cards. And I said, hey, Marietta, I go, those plants upstairs that say K on them? Well, the K doesn't stand for Kelly. The K stands for Corey. Those are all his plants. And here's his cards. And you should have seen her mouth, her chin just about hit the floor. She was freaking out. She was mad. She was like saying, where did I get these cards from? I'm like, your office. And so right. It didn't take long after that before the cops all left. They left in the truck, and basically, in 2 weeks' time, I got a letter in the mail from DHHS, and that's the medical marijuana department. And so they they had this certified letter that I had to sign for. And I'm thinking, oh shit, what the hell do these guys want now? You know, what's this? And so I open it up and I'm reading this letter, and the letter says how it's all about my inspection. And it says, we inspected your property and we found no violations on record. So they actually put it in writing that I was legal. And so I was thinking, holy crap, this is awesome. So,
Wow.
so yeah, so it was pretty crazy. So
Wow.
what I did was, I went and I scanned the letter and I emailed it off to a bunch of other caregivers that I
Brand that
knew
sucker.
were watching me. They were waiting for me to get busted or something, and they were sitting on the sidelines. And I told them, I invited them all. I said, "Come to Unity, and I'll get the Unity craft building or whatever." And I had a big education thing where basically everybody could come and they could learn how I got a municipal permit and learn how I did my paperwork to run. I had like over 50 people show up in 2 classes time. And so within like 6 months or 7 months, there was like 30 stores in Maine. And it just went crazy after that, because we made a law at the time. We were making a law. This was right about 2016, 2017. We were making a law, a bill that said caregiver stores could be open, and it was totally legal. We cleared up all the conditional list for medical marijuana. So we made it caregiver to caregiver sales. So that was legal. We changed all kinds of things in the law, and the bill passed with flying colors, and we shook up corporate cannabis big time. But it was pretty awesome. Yeah.
So you were the first dispensary, the first caregiver.
I was the first caregiver store. Okay, so what happened was there was unlimited caregivers, and so anyways, there was unlimited caregivers, and but there was only 8 dispensary licenses issued by the state,
Gotcha.
and that was capped at 8. So I started a store, and then I taught everybody how to do it, and then it just exploded. You know, it was crazy. But now,
Wow.
now I don't have a business anymore. So, but I still like to advocate. And, as far as that goes, I'm spending a lot of my extra time writing a book about the whole history of everything. And it's pretty good so far.
It sounds
So-
like a novel already. There's got to be a lot of layers to this onion here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you're in Maine. Now, Paco, you're in Nebraska. Now, talk about a difference in everything here. Now, Nebraska, you got homegrown Nebraska, right? Of course, right? You got all this farmland. You got homegrown Nebraska, right? Of course you do. No?
Hey, how you doing, Paul?
It's good to see you, man. I'm going, I know that guy, and I was just waiting to hear you talk to see if you were in fact the Paco I thought. Hey, Frank.
Yeah. Hey, Paul. So that's how I got here, is through Paul. Thanks for your sharing, man. That's really, we're
Yeah.
we're still struggling. 2014, a couple of us got a hemp bill passed, and then the state has fought that all the way. And couple of years ago, we had, and we've got initiative, referendum, and recall, and we had 200,000 signatures, and the Supreme Court threw it out. And then last year they couldn't get enough signatures for the referendum, and they're going to do it again. And so Bill Hawkins and I have another petition that we're talking. It's filed, it's on file, but figuring out how to do it. It just says that every person has a right to use cannabis, and so what we're dealing with there in Nebraska, why our petition got thrown out was a single subject. You can only have one subject in an initiative, and so the interesting thing of what I'm saying is that in the Nebraska legislature, so they're helpless for us, the Nebraska legislature. But the legislature passed a bill that said like 6-week abortion bill, maybe 12-week abortion bill, and an anti-diversity bill at the same time, and they passed them together. And so now there's a lawsuit saying that that's two subjects. Well, and that's what they threw out our lawsuit at 2 years ago, the Supreme Court in Nebraska. And so my point being, Bill and I, our lawsuit, Bill's initiative is that it's one subject, the use of cannabis. And so what the lawsuit says, or what the initiative, I'm sorry, because it's going to be a lawsuit. What the initiative says is that every person has a right to use cannabis. So I'm from Nebraska, Southwest Nebraska, living in Lincoln now, and I'm a patient, and so living in Nebraska, I have myasthenia gravis, and if I lived in Illinois or Florida, I know they're named medical conditions in those states, and I'd be having a separate conversation here, and so it goes to even I don't even know what the issue is, but the other day I was at the doc's office. She says, do you use any recreational drugs? And I just said, no, I don't fucking use recreational drugs. But the cannabis, the ganja has been a huge part of my recovery and the treatment of this myasthenia gravis. So I got a right to be here. It's really good to see Paul. So thank you, guys.
You too, man. I'm so surprised. Going, I know that's Frank. I know, but anyway.
What is dysmorphia gravis? What is that?
My friend in Jamaica, she calls it no winkum disease. Is like your starts out. A lot of times it starts out with it's a neuromuscular disease that there's a misfire between the neurons and the muscles, and therefore you lose your eyelids. You just lose. And I went blind for 60 days or something like that. And so then if you don't slow it down, it kind of takes over your whole body, and it kind of, the whole study of neurology and the issue of the endocannabinoid system. And I just really believe that we're at the start of something really, really important and really mindful. Anyway.
Do you know what terps work for you the best and what terps that you don't need? Have you figured out?
No. I've been at this for a year now. I'm living in Nebraska, dealing with it. And I'm doing good. I mean, things are good. So I need to go find a doc that we can start talking about strains and dosing. And so that's, Golden Goat. I got this. I can't. So Missouri's just legal. So it's an hour and a half from Lincoln, Omaha and Lincoln. So they're advertising a bunch of Golden Goat down there.
Yeah, in some states, the governor allows you to go across state lines to get your medicine, like in Kentucky.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
Nebraska.
Nebraska is one of only 3 states that it doesn't have any medical marijuana. I think it's Idaho, Nebraska, and Alabama. And I went there with a doctor, Rachel Knox, at Paco's organization, and our other friend you've met, Bill Hawkins, and testified with Dr. Knox and others in favor of medical marijuana. But it's never passed because of the Republicans' moral police, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were out in force this one.
Yeah, they're scary.
Yeah, man.
What groups do you have lobbying against you, like fighting against you? Is it like law enforcement? Is it
It's always
Sam,
law enforcement.
yeah, Sam, Kevin Sabet? Is he out there? You ever hear of
Yeah,
smart approach to marijuana?
yeah, yeah. He showed up last time.
Sabet did. Oh, figures. And the drug, what's it? Drug Policy Alliance? Is that another one?
I don't think we haven't. I haven't seen Drug Policy Alliance. I would have thought us. What Marijuana Policy Project (MPP) was active in the. We had a great. Honestly, my story, if I were to tell a really good story, is 2021. I think it was so because it was a pandemic year, and so we worked in the fall, and then the pandemic came, and then we shut everything down, and we probably had 10,000 signatures, something like that then. And then everybody was wearing masks, and everybody got together and said, well, let's go do this and see what we can do. And so we started it. And then people, communities, Nebraska is small communities, other than Lincoln and Omaha. And so one day somebody from Fremont was said, hey, I was in Fremont and I saw this pop-up tent and they were collecting signatures, and every day, and it became a thing. And so, and we had money. In the end, we had money, and we had 200,000 signatures. We had to have 110,000, and we did it. It was so cool. It was so cool.
And then the Supreme Court ruled it violated one subject, because not only did it legalize marijuana, it regulated it too. And according to them, legalizing it and regulating it aren't the same thing, even though that's just a bullshit, not true legal premise. It's definitely the same thing, but they can say whatever they want, right?
So I'm kind of excited about this digital signature gathering thing. It's been around. It's other states have it. It's been around. We should do it. The state has databases and all of that. But I'm going to get the Secretary of State's going to say no, and I'm just going to kind of go up the ladder, and it's an equal access issue, and then take it right. See if I can get to the Nebraska Supreme Court right away, and so if we could get that on the ballot, everybody's got a right to use cannabis. That would just help a lot. That would just stop the crap that's going on.
Does it have an age limit?
No, that's all it says,
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I honestly, Paul, I think Bill I know where I am is if people are seriously want to do something like that, an adult use bill.
Yeah.
Yes, man. Let's go do it. If we can join arms and partner up, and I'm kind of excited about this juxtaposition on this single subject issue, because it's one of those tricky ones they like to throw at us.
Right. Well, I think that it's definitely a single subject.
Right.
To come up with some bullshit arguments about kids will do it. You know, I went through an initiative. It was the second time that marijuana legalization was voted on in the United States. We qualified for a vote in 85 for an election in 86. And Jack Hare moved to Oregon, and they did have an age limit. They set it 18. I had argued that if they're going to set it, it should be 21 because that's what it is for liquor. But we went with 18. And it was really Jack Hare more than anybody else who strongly pushed that concept. And I agree, you know, in some cultures, 16 or even younger. You know, I bought my first pound when I was 13. So who am I to set another limit? But I think
You know, I think you're right, Paul. I think that is the point. Is that I hadn't thought about that at all. I'm looking at it like their argument is, well, now it's too broad. It's overly broad, and we'll throw you out that way. And
but the state's going to regulate it. I mean, it forces the state to say, okay, you know, we're going to set an age limit. We're going to do this, that, and the other.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But so. What has to change? Look, Minnesota, it looks to me like things in Minnesota changed.
Yeah. Their law looks like it's one of the best.
That it's positive, that the governor has a positive attitude, that the legislature had a positive attitude, because the people have a positive attitude about this stuff, you know. And so that's what this is. So here, the last governor said that we were going to kill our babies or something, and this governor has made some statement about this just like that. So I'm going to grow my second year of hemp this year.
All right.
Right on.
Yeah. So, you know, so am I here for a reason?
Yes. We would like Nebraska to take part in National Cannabis Patient Awareness Day on July 10th. 7/10 is becoming a corporate cannabis holiday and a stoner holiday, and we want to take it back for the patients. And
my understanding is that Bill's got the permit for the state capitol. Isn't that right? Bill Hawkins has a permit to have the protest in Lincoln.
He can. I know he can.
I think he told me he did. He has it.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk later tonight, actually. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right. So talk to me.
It's states from all over the United States. We have Texas, we have Kentucky, we have Alaska. We have about 23, 24 states. We want to come up with a patient bill of rights with all the states taking part in talking about what each state needs, which is mostly home grow. Every state needs home grow and insurance coverage. I think every state can agree on insurance coverage. But there's other nuances, like Vermont has this tax on vape carts. It's a 95% tax on vape carts because their vape carts are lumped in with their tobacco. So they got taxed up the butt. So a vape cart's $100 when you can get it in the black market for 10. And that's a weird thing that Vermont has. So we need to kind of streamline all the states together and talk about what each state needs and what we can do to help each state.
So how are you going to do that?
Well, we're going to be at the State House, and it's going to be a Zoom call, and every state's going to take part on 7/10 on this Zoom call, and we're going to have to stagger everybody and try to organize it where people, have a certain time to speak. And what do you think, Paul? What's the best way to handle this as far as on 7/10 having 23 states taking part? It'll be a 5-hour show. That's fine.
Yeah, just like you're doing, say you ask people what they're working on in their state. I guess. If you're talking about coming up with the national agenda, probably it'd be good to have something in writing that, or maybe just say we're going to create it after that. I mean, I went to our state capitol here in Oregon last year, and we did it. And I understand here in Oregon, our friend Honeybee has the permit. So, and just today, I talked to our friend in Washington State, Don Skacke, and told him about it. And he's been lobbying for home grow in Washington State. Washington State doesn't have home grow unless you have a medical recommendation, then you can grow. But without it, you cannot. And so I think in New Jersey, is it where you can't grow even with a medical recommendation?
Yeah, we have one person holding up home grow for patients, and that's Nicholas Scutari. He's the Senate president, and he refuses to put it up for a vote. He there's bills out there for a patient home grow, but he refuses to put it up for a vote. And
Hi, Jim.
Jim Miller, and Jim
Well,
can
hello.
talk about it too.
Yeah,
Hi, Jim.
Good to see
Hi,
you.
Jim.
Great to have you.
it's going on. You know, he refuses, is one way of putting it, but he's refusing. You know, at some point he will have to relent. So it'll be interesting, but I am making some progress. Still going through constituents to contact legislators that otherwise would not talk with me, no matter who I was. But when you're a constituent, there's inroads. So that organizing is going good. What I like about this effort and why I sit in as much as I can is, and Paul knows probably what I'm going to say, it's the old Association of Reform Organizations list, email list, where you could have a question and put it out there on the listserv, and somebody would have the answer. Now, I know that doesn't involve this yet. This is organized trying to get like a basic day, a day of recognition, which should happen sooner or later. But it does help when things need to be worked out individually in all states. So I like taking part with an eye on, at some point, this could be organized enough where if you have a question, you could at least attend a Thursday meeting and talk about something and see what did other states do, as well as an example, as Lefty was saying, we have a patient home grow bill for patients only, not adults. There's one with both as far as that goes, but to be able to have somewhat of a degree of expertise from the situations in other states, we'd be able to hopefully take shortcuts by finding, for instance, in this state, if a legislator wanted to find out how things were working out in the state that we might want to model something after, you know, we can't leave it to them to go do their homework and find their counterpart in another state that they could commiserate with and see how did it work out in your state, my colleague. You know, what we would like to do, what I would like to do is have people say in New Jersey, there's legislators that have worked on things that we can do in New Jersey, other states can't. We have a very good patient, patients can medicate pretty freely in New Jersey compared to other states. We have the same rights as people who smoke cigarettes have. And a lot of states don't have that. So if they wanted to have that, there are legislators in New Jersey who would be glad to talk to their counterpart in another state who would like to get that done there as well. The concept of somebody already getting theirs and reaching behind to help somebody behind them get theirs as well. And right now, if I wanted to find out things that I need to know to deal with legislators here in New Jersey, I would love to have their counterpart in another state ready to take their call, so to speak, to be able to be in a discussion with a legislator here in a Zoom meeting and say, well, I know who can help you out with that if you want to contact or waiting for your contact. And make it the actually shortest version. I'll end it with that now by saying that I'm a firm believer that if I want to have a legislator see things my way, I don't have as good a chance of doing that as a colleague of theirs does. So when we have something going like in New Jersey where there's a home grow bill where 1/3 of the Republican minority Senate is co-sponsors right now, we have a good chance to use that as a wedge. Hey, it's a Democratic written bill, but there's no Democratic co-sponsors only because the Senate president isn't going to allow it to be posted even for an informational hearing. So if you co-sponsor it, you come to disfavor with your Senate president. It's typical how it works. But I would like to be able to think that we wouldn't have to have our President Nick Scutaria is like, well, I've got a trip to Colorado planned. Who needs to go physically to another state to find things out? That's just like he's doing everything he can to stall. And it would be nice if we had somebody in another state that does have home grow for their patients, which virtually every state does that has a program. We could really use that here. So, I mean, it sort of would be self-serving to me at this point, if this was already going on, to be being able to say to Nick Scutaria in a public setting, here's two people you could get in contact with and get your answers. So don't be making like you got to reinvent the wheel here. I'd just like to see states deal together with things where they overlap more so than goes on. So also, I'm the one that really, if you let me run, I'm kind of like an Energizer bunny, would just keep talking. I'd be great for a filibuster, I really would. If I could pee while I was doing it, so anyway, that's why I'm here. I'm pretty medicated right now, but it actually has to do with pain a bit as well, as much as I became quite the legitimate patient for some fairly catastrophic foot injury after being an aficionado for 40 years or so. So it's hard to say, I almost laugh at the thought, me a patient. No, I enjoy the effects of getting rid of the pain this way, and I don't know. I've seen the difference it can make in too many lives for me to take it lightly. Been too long. It's also why I like being here, because there are people who've been doing things like this way longer than me. So it's good to, get a dose of that too.
Hey, there's some big news. Trump has been indicted in federal court in Florida.
Oh, I already knew that. I was keeping it from
you. Knew that. I just heard it. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, see what the fallout is.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't mean the fallout of the fallout of the reaction to that.
Right.
In various parts of our country.
So because I want to do this. I like your idea. I mean, because one way to start, I don't know about start is the right word, because you guys are doing it, but to take these state capitol meetings and turn them into something, and then take that information, because like in Nebraska, Bill Hawkins and I, people would be able to get a hold of us, and there is a group of people in Nebraska that do have knowledge. I mean, when you're under that much oppression, you figure out stuff, and even it takes a while to get stuff done, but then we can learn. That's what the thing is, that we need to learn what's going on.
We do, it's we're not that very in this world of interconnectivity, we are not that interconnected on medical cannabis issues state by state. people ask me what's going on in certain other states, and I don't know. It's impossible to keep up with, but that can almost become your strength to accelerate the degree of success as they happen, by able to use the knowledge of other states that have gone before us. I mean, that's the part I love about the United States. Theoretically, somebody can try something out and the rest of the states can sit back and say, oh, look how that worked out. But then when you have a Senate president who feels he has to physically go to Colorado, which he's done before, he seems to like doing that. And he can play dodgeball here like nobody's business, you know? It's we could use more ammunition here. That we are the only state that has legal adult use of cannabis, as well as a medical program where they can't grow their own. Every state that has legal adult use cannabis, that has a medical program, which will pretty much all do, they all allow their patients some kind of home grow. So that we are such an outlier state, I'm trying to make the people who are okay with that play defense. Say, when you are the outlier state of all, that you need to prove why this should continue. And the only way I can say that is if I know how it's going in other states, to hold it up as a relative reference. So that I would need to know, all right, how do you think about what's going on in whatever state? And when that person says, I need to know what's going on so I can follow it up. And when I can back that up with, I can get them somebody from the office on the phone while we're speaking, if you want, it shakes things up a little bit to be that kind of connected. I had a thing about that back being on the Association of Reform Organizations list there. I was of the
really Kevin Zeese and David Borden's baby, really.
Yeah.
And there was another guy, Mark, can't remember Mark's last name right now. But they started it way back in the 80s.
Yeah.
When email was first kicking out. Hey, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just had kind of one of those stoner brainstorms. And you probably come up with this before yourselves, like no great idea. But let the garden state garden. You ever heard that? Have that one as your slogan? Let the garden state garden. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we have this. You hear that a lot. Actually, we got a guy, TJ Finnery, a guy named TJ. He has these little plastic green thumbs. Like it goes on over your thumb, a plastic piece.
Yeah.
And talking about taking our green thumbs away here in the Garden State or whatever. It's a crazy, but it's the idea.
We're not the Garden State.
Yeah, we can't have a garden.
We can't have a garden.
But we're not allowed to even talk about it in committee hearings.
Nope.
In other words, I'd like to get to the lowest common denominator. The easiest thing to argue, the first step, the very first step out of the gate is to have it posted for an informational hearing. Now, for 2 years, when a bill doesn't get posted, and it is because the Senate president will not allow the head of the Senate Health Committee to post it. When I say not allow, it's backroom. It's not like a point of order somewhere. I won't allow you. And I've talked with the head of the chairman of the Health Committee, Senator Joe Vitelli, on a Zoom meeting. And, to the point where I needed him to say it, and he got a little exasperated. And so, of course, I will post it as soon as I'm allowed to. Like he's saying that to me, like I'm not understanding something. And I'm only having to do that to be perfectly clear that I can say, yes, he is ready to post it, but he's not allowed. So you can apply pressure, but it's all about that this keeps information from Senator Scutari's Senate colleagues from his own side of the aisle. People are saying, well, there's no will in the Senate to do this, but how can there be will if there's no information and you don't know where they're getting? You know, it's just an easy situation to make be a thorn in his side. And the one thing good about New Jersey at this point is we have our state elections off here of the federal. So we have elections this year where things get more interesting during a campaign. And when you're fighting to have a bill, simply have an informational hearing. We're developing some cards to play starting after Labor Day, and it's going to get active.
Gentlemen, I need to go. My eyes are bugging me. So
I'm glad I got on before you left.
Good to see you.
Good to see you,
yeah,
Paco.
Paul, I'll talk to you. See you guys.
That's good. Now, my understanding is you guys have the permit there and they're going to move forward with it in Nebraska. That's what Bill told me. And I haven't got anybody in Wisconsin to commit to it. I thought we could find somebody there who would step forward. And I put the idea out there, but nobody's really.
How did you put it out there?
Well, I mean, I contacted Gary Stork.
Yeah.
I contacted Dennis Brennan. Some people I know who had legitimately been activists, you know, there. I don't know everybody there that I can just call up and ask, but Dennis does. I haven't tried to get him to advocate for that yet. In Wisconsin, you have the additional benefit that the municipal government said, even though it's against the law at the state level, the municipal government says you can smoke marijuana anywhere you can smoke tobacco. It's as legal as tobacco in in Madison, Wisconsin. Only Madison.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how the ticket in Michigan for a long time was just the $5 ticket in Ann Arbor, you know. That was the status quo back when I was a kid.
Yeah,
So
there were times like that. That there was a point where in the late 70s where it was going to be legal any year now. You know, I mean, it was just it wasn't
Exactly.
it wasn't
It was
worth.
going to happen until Peter Bourne, who was Carter's drug czar, was outed for snorting a line of coke at Normal's national party. Up to then, we had decriminalized in like 11 states, even North Carolina decriminalized. And it looked like it was going to become legal. Everybody said it was. California had voted on it. Oregon was the first to decriminalize it.
Yeah.
But then Ronald Reagan became president. And Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan started the just say no thing, and
it turned around.
It
You know,
did.
I had an interesting time to speak from the Capitol steps in Albany at the request of Rob Robinson, and it's exactly what I talked about. What you were just saying, because I was appealing to a much younger crowd, and I wanted to be, you know, like we treated it like it was some sort of amusement park ride. We didn't drive it home. You know, it's circumstance that you mentioned cropped up, and it happened so fast. It was like the just say no between when Keith didn't you know, a real quick version of what happened in Wisconsin at one of the Harvest Fests is Keith was there. Oh geez, who was there? Was
Ben Mazzell.
Well, yeah, he would always be there.
He was the guy.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember who else it was that Gary got to come. I mean, it's like Ed Rosenthal.
Ed Rosenthal. When I went.
Yeah. What?
I actually gave my first public speech at that in 1989.
We had a special dinner, about 15 people, and it was at a Jamaican restaurant that was kind of U-shaped, where the courtyard was technically outdoors, so technically you could smoke there, and it was like it was an actual a dirt, kind of clean dirt, like for a floor. And it was an amazing thing because we all had joints and it was like it was legal. And Keith chose then to go in fairly at length to what happened, like a chronology, almost like a little mini panel discussion where we could ask questions. And it was pretty enlightening.
Yeah, there was that book, High in America, that told me everything I know about it. I
that
detailed it. And
yeah.
Keith's
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, that was High in America. That was where there was lots of quotes, like from Dana Beal and from Aaron Kay and stuff. It's what changed my style of writing from telling something to include quotes from other people. So it's a group telling a story. It was fascinating. If that was the one, Carpenter was the author, I think his last name.
I should reread that. I haven't read that since
the
early 80s.
It was with the quotes that it was fascinating,
Yeah.
But there was just a lot of circumstances, I think, that people generally don't know. And it was fun to have a direct source where I believed everything he was saying. He wasn't lobbying us or trying to gain. We were just high as kites, waiting for some food to come out, and he spun this story. And of course, the funny part was that when the shit hit the fan, Willie was in town, and Willie Nelson, said, "Well, come on to the concert," and we'll talk about it afterwards. So Keith went, and he was in like the first row or the second row, very great seat, and he lit a big fat one, and then somebody put his hand on his shoulder, and it was Secret Service, and Jimmy Carter was sitting just a seat or two away, so he had to put it out, and it shook him up, so he went backstage, and he took a seat, and he was having another joint. A guy comes over, and you're in Jimmy Carter's seat, and he's like, "I can't get away from Jimmy Carter. What the hell?" That just blew me away because he's quite high himself. But
I was introduced by Gatewood to Willie back in 1990, but one of his main road manager back then, David Anderson, has a picture of Jimmy Carter coming backstage in Washington, D.C. at a show. And Anderson said that they were smoking a joint when Jimmy came in, and that he's holding the joint down beside the couch. And they took a picture, and Jimmy Carter signed it to David Anderson with,
yeah.
But that's what it looks like when the U.S. president comes in while you're smoking pot.
Well.
And of course, Willie's known for smoking out on the roof of the White House with the Carter boys too, Jimmy Carter's son.
Yeah, there's plenty of that going around. I mean, that
I should get going here. Did you hear anything back from Don in Washington State?
Not yet, no.
He hasn't emailed you back. Well, like I said, his daughter is leaving town this afternoon, and he was kind of busy, but he said he would do it. So,
right on.
Yeah, and in Washington, there's no home grow except for medical. So even with legalization. So anyway, you guys, it's good talking to you.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it, man.
All right, bye-bye.
Tell you, Paul.
So Jim, let's finish up with the list here.
Yeah.
First, let me thank Let me thank cmmmnj.org. They have been supporting us for years at the State House and everywhere. Cannasense, UFCW, Local 152. Hugh just won an award from the New Jersey Insider?
Yeah.
See that? Yeah, that was great. Good for you, Hugh. JacksonStorms.com, Smoking Monkey, Arlo Glass. It's our friend Tony. OprahMachine.com, Pure Puff Lifestyle Shop, and SativaCross.org. You can go there and donate money for our ramps and for stuff that we need. Our list begins with Cheryl. When I first met Cheryl, I just thought pot gave you the munchies from cancer. Like cancer patients would go to use pot because it gave them the munchies. That's why. That's the only thing I thought that pot did for anybody. And then I saw what you and Cheryl were going through, and I saw how Cheryl had multiple sclerosis, and she would actually have she would be rigid, her arms would be rigid, and she would use cannabis. And Jim, you were able to exercise her, and she was able to stretch her arms, which she couldn't do before she used cannabis. I never seen anything like it, so I was like, whoa. Then I did a deep dive on cannabis, and I found out that there's a lot more to it than just the munchies. Feeling good, because I was just a pot activist back then when I met you and Cheryl. I just wanted the pot legal so I could smoke it and get high. And
Well, what you're saying is what I thought too, even as we did the first test where I made it into a salad dressing, and because I decarboxylated it only in as much as warming it so it would better grind up into the salad dressing. So that was accidental good luck, but it worked well. The thing is I couldn't comprehend that it would work because, as you said, the spasticity was so severe. The atrophy of the muscles, they'd be tightened. The arms would not fully straighten. They couldn't be. Same with the legs. You just lose ground over a period of years. And to be able to stretch, to move the other, the legs and the arm would constrict rapidly, beyond her control. And that precluded her getting physical therapy at a rehabilitation center that was like supposedly the best in the state. And it took 3 people to work with her, and they couldn't keep her with the it's just too much manpower or whatever. And so she had some brownies that I brought, and the spasticity went away, and they kept her for 3 more weeks, and that blew me away. So that's what that first test, when I saw it almost literally like spaghetti before cooking it, and then after it's loose. She'd plane out almost straight, picking her up because of the involuntary stretching. So if I had used cannabis a lifetime's worth, and she never had, so I figured there's no way, from what I felt, that what I'm feeling would relax somebody like her that much, because if it relaxed me that much, my legs wouldn't hold the weight of my body, in my mind. But I guess that's why it's so hard for people to believe. Of course, it creates those rare moments that when we got arrested for her doing that demonstration in congressional office building and consuming a small bit of a bud as a ceremonial way to be arrested. The fingerprinting went, there was that same lesson passed on to a couple of Capitol Police who thought that they would be able to raise her hand up to where the pad was, where you would normally walk up waist high, or a little shelf. So I volunteered to do it, and they said, we can handle this. I knew Willie couldn't. As soon as they lifted the arm up, the legs kicked back, her body almost slid onto the floor, except for the fact I tilted the chair back real quick because I knew it would happen, and gravity, sunk her body back. So it was fun seeing a crash course in reality now and then, but it's time to end it. It's got to be home grow for patients. I've gone back and read all the laudatory comments that legislators made when we passed Jake's law in 2019, making everything about the law easier except for the expense. You could get more. You didn't have to have a doctor's re-recommendation as often. There was extra conditions added, the sales tax phased out, everything except that it costs too much. And we're making some progress. It's and then with Susan going back on her opiates because she can't afford the overly expensive cannabis. I don't know if you're aware of how that it's a sad story. Somebody's off opiates after being on for 30 years, and then you're off 17 months, and then you run out of money. I mean, out. And yeah, you can go back on pain management that includes that. That's but the fact that that story is being played out with her
It's encouraged and ensured.
her with her assemblyman Moriarty. Now you know how bad Dick Cody is.
Who?
Well,
Senator Dick?
Senator Dick, yeah, Cody. Oh geez, what's the other one? The one who's oh my God.
Senator Dick.
No, it's the other one on the health committee. Oh my God, I'm having a brain freeze here. He's retiring. No, he's a senator on the Senate Health Committee, a Democrat. He's as bad as Cody. Oh my God. I'd look it up, but I'd lose you. Well, anyway, he's Susan's senator, former state police lieutenant colonel, acting like he still is all through his 19 years as a senator so far. Madden. Yeah, Senator Madden. He's retiring. So her Assemblyman Moriarty is running for his Senate seat and likely to succeed him because he won his primary. So Susan got in touch with him 5 weeks ago. Somebody got back from the staff, said, thank you for your patience, and got her phone number so we could talk. And she sent her phone number, 2 weeks, nothing, and it's fun having Susan's email trail as I read it. This is like the rope is just wrapping around his neck and he doesn't know it. So we're really having some fun. Because to that, she, meaning me, just is responding today that she's like, oh, I was on a Zoom meeting with Senate Health Committee Chairman Joe Vitelli, because she was on that Zoom call that I was with Joe Vitelli. So the fact she's already been on a Zoom call with a senator of the Health Committee, she's replying, that's way better than a phone call I've been waiting 2 weeks for. Oh, by the way, in that 5 weeks that this hasn't produced anything, I'm going back on, and explained this story that it didn't have to be this way, but it's been 2 years worth of it's not changing, and you're taking 5 weeks. That's it. So she's kind of dragging them, and she told me, I talked to her for over an hour to be real straight about that. She said, I hate to play this card, the oh, I'm, I need it to, I'll be off, make sure I'm not addicted. And then I had to explain, no, that's actually what you're supposed to do is play that card. It's your responsibility. And I had to explain how I made a career out of playing that exact card, you know, because it's a kick-ass card to play. So she's more on board for doing that now, and looking forward to her saying that, her advisor, Jim Miller, I'm already part of the conversation. She'd like it to include me and her, and that she would like him to schedule that, but not before he talks of Relina Reynolds Jackson first. It's just a call. Chief of Staff Ed Gittens will take your call. You should do that first. Then we have something to talk about on a Zoom meeting. So it's going to be very hard for them to say no. And she hasn't told them yet that all this is going to get dumped on a website Labor Day. So they don't know yet. And right now, this could look good or bad for them. And I'm actually starting to see how much fun this could be if I stay with it, at least for a dozen people. Yeah, he's vulnerable. And he wants to take Madden's place, which is actually a good thing. Here's something I didn't know if you knew. Did you know that Senator Cody doesn't have a Republican in the general election going up against him? There's no, he's got no competition.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but do you know that meant that you could have gotten 100 signatures and been his only competition?
I'm actually in Bayonne now. I'm actually listed in Bayonne.
Ah, dude, anybody could have, though. We could have, anybody. If you knew anybody in his district, hey, Jim Miller did it. Ken Walski's even done it.
Wow.
But, just get that. There'd be one person. And when that happens, you're the other point of view.
You gotta be kidding me. Nobody ran against Cody.
He's a shoo-in. I didn't know that. I didn't know that till yesterday.
I thought he was redistricting and he was running against.
Yeah, Nia Gill.
Yeah.
So he redistricted and had to get through a primary, but now he's going up against a Republican who's also, I don't know about the redistricting. I've never heard of a Democrat and a Republican not being in the general election.
So did he win the primary, Cody, I guess?
Yeah. And you of course heard that Senator Doer did win the primary. Senator Doer, Ed. We went to.
I love Senator Doer.
Well, he won 64-36%. Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. A truck driver is a truck driver.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that the woman who was part of their legislative team of 2 assembly people and a Senate candidate, that when I looked her up and see, well, she was a political science. She has a degree in political science. So she's the smart one. He's a truck driver. They all got swept in a north-south feud for behind the scenes stuff. They were just pawns and getting swept in. And right after getting swept in, she thought, ooh, I could turn on Ed Doer because I'm the political science major. I could win the primary. And she bet her seat in the legislature and lost.
Oh man, I hope Senator Doer goes after Scutari now.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I'm going to be back in touch with Tina about seriously.
Great.
If sort of like if there's one more Republican that co-sponsors, you got to admit it will be dropping the ball if they don't team up and bully Scutari.
Yeah.
At least make the case as the hurt party. You're just doing this because you don't want Republicans to help you do anything or whatever. You wrote a bill and yeah, and then they could play the card. Hell, they could stand me up and I'd be their spokesperson,
We need the union to get we need to get these letters over to our senators. We have to have a lobby day. I have to meet you in Trenton.
Okay, here, yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, but you can't, we know because of the permit, there'd be a problem of delivering. So how about we do this? You should, through our social media contacts, say, yeah, write up what you would want to say about home grow for patients. I mean, if we're gonna do it just about patients, would be nice. The available bills there. And they will be hand delivered to the majority Senate office or the majority, whatever office, it'd be hand delivered, and then I could get copies of them to my email and copy each one and then bring it in before you're set up as not part of. They say, well, as part of a demonstration, no, you can't let, okay, it's not part of a demonstration. It's me. I'm showing up. I had a falling out lefty. I call him Edward now, if you don't mind.
Not demonstrating now.
No, in other words, if they wanted to play with me on that, then we have so much fun with that. I mean, it's a win-win, but it would get me in there every fourth Thursday. I'd be inside there. It'd be kind of interesting to see if people take advantage of it. You got something to say? Hand deliver it for you. Hand deliver.
Here we go. We can do, yeah. Instead of bitching to Facebook, here,
Yeah.
give me your letter, and we will hand over your
Yeah.
messaging. Instead
Yeah.
of Zuckerberg, bring it to whoever.
Yeah. If I guess it would be fine enough. I suppose you'd want some way I can get that. I don't imagine I'd be getting a whole lot of emails about it, and I don't really mind. But if it was a matter of me bringing up an email that said whatever, as I'm looking through my email, all I'd have to do would be see who it's to, and then
Make it easy for you.
copy it and then bring it to the proper thing. But what I'm saying is, if you can iron that out to make it easy, it'd be fun to do, even on a small scale, but it would be kind of fun to do. Get a couple of pictures, take a couple pictures while I'm in there, whatever. It'd be a way of getting around. You can't do it because it becomes part of a demonstration. And I don't like that, being boxed out like that. And it's never going to be good to do it when we wrap up, unless you think,
Just go
well,
there.
no, you know what, we could wrap up earlier than, it was late last time. What's your normal podcast end, by 2:00 or something?
Yeah, 2:30.
Yeah, we'd have time to run back in at 2:30. I mean, what time's your permit run for?
Probably 3 or 4. But I don't mind going down on an off day just to do that, just to go there specifically to drop off letters.
Really, all the way down just to do that?
Sure, why not?
Well, I'm way closer than you. I mean, if you could do it, I could do it too.
We
I'd
can
go
go
with you.
there and do a lobby day without a protest. Just go in there, deliver a stack of letters. I'm gonna get the UFCW to write us a letter.
Well, the thing is, we could do that, and I don't know. Last time I was blatant about it. I brought Philippe Dumais with me, and as a combat veteran being turned away, they barely swung us back around. Have a seat here. Come in here. Somebody will be right with you. And sat by that very huge conference table in another room. We were swept in by that. We could take a battering ram the first time, see if Leo would meet us there, and use his veteran status to see if we can get to talk to whoever took Fru Kwan Muzan's position. You name drop a few things, you get to talk to somebody.
Right.
Wonder, I think I'd approach Leo readily, and I'm pretty sure he'd be amenable to doing that. something tells me.
Maybe I'll find a patient or another patient to come with us.
Yeah, well, Leo's a patient.
Yeah, Leo is a patient.
Bridge, bring the bridge with us.
Yes, sir. That's a nuclear bomb.
Tell him we need a wedge breaker, explain how it worked with Philippe, and say, listen, I'd love you there just for your expertise, but you do know you're a wedge breaker. If you come, you get us in the door too. Now, he loves the full circle. He's a very proud man. He should be proud of himself. I mean, he's picking it up and running with it. But that also opens him up to being exactly the kind of person who's going to say, you got it. I'll be there. How do we do this? Because he's right there anyway.
Yeah, he's there. He's local.
So if we had at least a few things to deliver, even our own, but if we had some from others, and said we're occasionally going to do this, trying to connect people, get them some skin in the game, knowing, that they're getting their stuff hand delivered, so they know for a fact, that it got there, blah blah blah. But the goal is to talk to the person who runs the office, because he's the one that can hear the train coming when the train's coming, and he's the one, like for Quan, it would be, listen, there's something else going on, something about an email dump, email trails. I mean, it all leads to this. Can't we just all get along, work together? Why do we gotta, set things up like that? And I think we're really close to that, especially because of the 1/3 of the Senate minority Republicans. And I'm flat out telling others who are Democrats, hey, I'm going to run the Republican team. We're going to try to pick up the fumble, and I'm on their team when it comes to that, because they're going to try to pick up the fumble. It's interesting, and it's actually that close to being that kind of interesting. So it's going to take a bit of luck, though. I need to somehow come across somebody who can say, listen, here's how we could put this and frame it on a website as some sort of database with a rudimentary stuff for them, way beyond my comprehension. But also it's got to intersect with somebody who says, you need a dedicated website. You can put it on somebody else's website, sure, but it should be a dedicated website. One thing, this issue, And I'd be like, well, people can peel off the money out of their hip pocket for that I can, or you can, or other people can't. So I need like about a $500 sugar daddy to say, hey, I'll take care of that. And somebody else, well, I'll make sure it gets put up. Like, if I can find those couple of things, I can scale this up real quick after Labor Day. And with enough email trails to serve as examples to make other people want to hop on board and say, yeah, I don't know. It's been a dream of mine for about 14 years. So I'm going to be 71. And I'm not going to take another 14.
To bring this back to the list.
Yes, sorry.
When Cheryl used, she used tincture and edibles.
Yeah, I made her green butter. I just simply melded it with butter in a slow cooker after decarboxylating it.
And it took a while to activate after she ate it?
No, it's pretty quick.
Quick.
Yeah, it'd be maybe 15 minutes. You would see the physical effect pretty quick. What I really liked was her neurologist who prescribed Marinol for her when Jared was saying, because that's the best he could do. But he could always tell when she'd had her green butter as soon as he showed up for his appointment with her. And he knew right away, yes, you've had your green butter, haven't you? And she'd be trying not to smile and going, yeah, I have. And he said it was because he knew right away, because that's when she started conversations. And that was all it took, In other words, she was there for the ride until she had her green butter. Then she was driving, She wasn't just along for the ride then. Anyway,
Sabina Rose Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Holly, Bill, Ted, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Fran, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lou, Becky, and Jeff. See y'all next week. Thanks, Jim. We'll talk soon, brother. We're going to end it with the ode. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.